Welcome back, everyone. I wish I could say this was going to be as fun a podcast as the first two. We'll do our best, won't we, Shiroi? But it's good to see you. And actually, I think normally if we had like a really good win to enjoy, we could indulge in more of the, how have you been? How's your week been? I heard you're going to another wedding where you'll inevitably watch Arsenal highlights, but we can't quite enjoy that as much because Arsenal lost, frustratingly. Anyway, how are you? I should ask.
You know what? I've taken a vow now that I've returned to content to not let a football result stop me from smiling on a pod. I'm not going to turn up looking miserable even when we lose. And if I don't stick to that throughout the course of this season, someone in the comments remind me. Because I did have a wonderful weekend, notwithstanding that loss. And I want to carry that through to Monday. So all in all, I'm all right, bro. How are you?
You're a better man than me.
I'm trying, bro. I'm really trying.
Well, I'll tell you what, before we go into all the miserableness, there's some good stuff. Of course, there's some good stuff. Nketiah signed, and I actually don't even think we played that bad at Anfield. We're talking about all that. Before we go into that, yes, I am holding my microphone, people. So sorry if you get quite inconsistent audio from me. Basically, I feel like one of those, I mean, I don't really know who holds a mic like this, but basically, I had to take it apart for being away at the weekend, and I'm leaving in a few days to go to Nashville, which I'm very excited about. The US, great. But it just wasn't worth putting this back together when I've then got to set it up on the other set to do other videos. So I'm holding it like this, which could be very uncomfortable, probably around minute 24, 25. But that's okay. It's all burning calories, I suppose.
I think you look pretty cool, bro. I think it looks good.
Maybe I'll start a trend. Like maybe this like really super casual. Do you know what? Actually, I need to give off casual because I don't feel that casual about this result at Liverpool. And I'll explain why. And before I give my take, I just want to caveat by saying something. When we record Forever Arsenal, it's 8 a.m. It's kind of the first thing we do in the day. It's like so fresh off the result. I can't pretend I've had that much time to digest. And I do often, I think what I enjoy about this pod with you is I do often come to it with a very kind of, not a very different take, but like with more considered thoughts on my take. And also, I'm often reacting. By the way, I love doing that podcast. I genuinely believe we've got one of the best Arsenal podcasts in this space with Forever. And I know I sound very arrogant saying that, but big up the guys. I think they're brilliant. But I'm often also reacting to what they're all saying, and then that sparks the kind of conversations I'm having. What I enjoy about this with me and you is we can really get into the nitty gritty. Where did it go right, but where did it go wrong, especially when we lost? I'm really curious on your take, and I do have more considered thoughts than I think I've been able to give up to this point. And of course, we'll talk transfer window and everything. But sure, you messaged me. You said you basically think if we'd had the onus to win the game, we might well have done it. Am I right? I'm paraphrasing. Break down what you think happened as I'm being passed the Coke Zero. Thank you, Becky. Carry on, Shiroi.
The exact message I sent you, this is like 5 minutes after the result, was we need to trust our attack just as much as we trust our defense.
That was it. Yeah.
That was what I thought, right? And look, speaking of messages, there's been a lot of ex post facto argument that everyone thinks the complaints are pure hindsight. And they're not, right? I'm going to show, I don't know if you can see it. Can you see this if I hold this up? Where is it?
Go on.
It's a screenshot with Forever up there. Can anyone see this? Maybe not.
Oh, yeah, it's not quite focusing on your camera, but
my brother will vouch. My brother will vouch for me. Yeah? Ignore the Forever at the top. But this is a screenshot of the messages that I sent to my brother at 3:20. So 5 minutes after the lineup comes out. He started Marino with Eze, Erdegaard, and Ranieri all on the bench. He's trying to get them on set pieces. It's Calafiori over MLS as well. The guy's just gone and chosen his biggest team. I don't think it'll be an entertaining watch. This sounds like he's going there, maybe to stink the place out and leave with a 1-0 win, probably a corner. That was my initial, when I saw the lineup, that's what I thought, okay? And the reason that frustrates me is, even if people think that the lineup was slightly more adventurous than I'm giving it credit for here, that for me was a lineup that was predicated upon scoring 1 goal, probably not a lineup that was predicated upon scoring 2. That works if you're going somewhere where the percentages are in favor of you keeping a clean sheet, right? We know that Arteta's a big numbers man. He loves his stats. He loves his, what's the chance of, bro, with Salah, Gakpo, Ekatike, Wirtz, and a fit McAllister, what are the chances of you keeping a clean sheet, even if you do absolutely everything right? That was one of the things that really frustrated me. But then the first half happened. And I'm gone. You look like you want to jump in.
You're spot on. If Arteta was playing the percentages in this game, very weird one to do it. That's it. I'll let you carry on. But I massively agree with that point.
But then with the first half, I didn't expect us to look as comfortable as we did.
I agree.
I know a lot of people are using the word dominant because of the fact that they had nothing in our box. We were defensively dominant. I don't think we were offensively dominant, but I think we had a good element of control. And at halftime, I was watching it. I was watching it at a bar called Bonds, just off Bond Street, with a Liverpool fan. I looked at him and I said, "All right, cool. I'll take that for a first half. We need to build on it." And that's crucial. We need to build on it. I know a lot of people thought that we should have built upon it more in the first half, but if you don't, fine, you've got another half of football to do it. The fact that we didn't build upon it and we came out with more of the same, this is where my inherent frustration lies. We discuss small margins a lot in a lot of these games and a lot of these results. And I know that a lot of people who are listening to me now will have said, "Oh, you're talking about how we probably weren't going to keep a clean sheet, but mate, it was a wonder strike that did for us. So we could have kept the clean sheet." My point here is the wonder strike did for us, and the margins were so small because we made them that small. We made the margins that small by not going for it earlier, by being there 0-0 and not really trying to tilt the balance in our favour in that second half, by only leaving us 10 minutes to claw it back when it did go wrong. Because I always felt that no matter what happened, Liverpool were going to score a goal. I did. I always felt that. And I was sat there throughout saying, if we're going to win it, how are we going to score two? I mean, when you were watching the first half, were you totally happy with the first half and saying, if it's more of the same, I'm cool with it? Or did you look at it as a platform?
I tweeted off the Goonerverse account. Let me find the exact tweet. And I think I could have put it better, but I said at halftime, you have to be a very good side to go to the champions and limit them to 2 shots in the first half and nullify their plan. But a title-winning side has more threat. Can we unlock that in the second half? Hard to do without Eze, Ødegaard and Saka, but we can bring 2 of them on. That was basically my feeling, was like, great, good platform. Like, we are reaffirming what we all know. We're a very good team. But are we a title-winning team? And I've pushed back so much on the narrative. You know that clip of me celebrating the 0-0?
There's a clip of you celebrating a 0-0? No way.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen it. It's gone triple.
No way. Who were we playing again?
No idea. I think Bournemouth away. I was quite happy with the draw.
Yeah.
Something like that. It's times like these where I really like to bring that up. I know the football world likes to have a laugh at that clip, but people need to understand that context is everything. And the reason I was so happy with that, apart from the fact it was a point that kept us ahead of Man City in the title race, the eventual champions, Liverpool fans like to laugh at it because we fell behind Liverpool that weekend with that draw, but I never saw Liverpool winning the title, and I was actually proven correct with that one. I was happy we stayed ahead of City. But people need to understand that only 12 months before, Arsenal had been slapped 4-1 in what was another head-to-head match. And I'd never seen Arsenal, never, because I wasn't a fan pre-2007 Wenger football, whatever. I'd never seen us go away from home when it really mattered and showed that we could go punch for punch with the very best. That, for me, was the first time I'd ever seen it away from home with the very best. It's now become something we're quite accustomed to, a year and a half on from that moment. And I recognised in that game that City were unbelievable, and it was taking everything in us to stop them and to have some kind of platform in the game and to be any kind of threat. Every press we tried, they played out, every whatever. Why am I going on and on about this? Because this game against Liverpool wasn't like that. Yes, it was still the champions. Yes, they still had world-class quality on the pitch. Yes, it was 0-0. We had a foothold in the game. But I could sense, and I think so many Arsenal fans could sense, we can get them here. They're not playing that well. They're not like Calafiori's got Salah. Ekatike's not been in the game. McAllister, Gravenberch, Wirtz, a lot of the ball, but they weren't doing much with it. And we had a platform in that first half. I'm not just happy going and getting draws away from home. You've got to sense the game. And there's been so much lazy punditry and analysis around Arsenal that now it's been made well, see, Arsenal don't go for it in big games. No, you've got to know what you're up against, because we went for it in Madrid. We played football at Real Madrid. We did. We defended well, but we created the better chances. So we will do it. But we, for some reason, didn't sense that Liverpool were there for the taking. And you're right. I always felt that it was going to take a goal. That there was always going to be a goal from them. We was going to take a goal from us to even get a point. But there was more in that game for us, and we didn't want to go for it.
For sure. And it's not just you, and it's not just Arsenal fans that could sense that. I told you I was watching it with a Liverpool fan, right? The whole first half, he was just looking at me going, "This isn't us, man. What's going on? Why is everything overhit? Why is everything underhit? Why are we losing these duels?" They could sense it. Right, so if Liverpool fans are looking at it, then you know you're not making things up. And I do want to emphasise, because I hate the fact that because of the window we've had, there are a lot of people that almost feel like we're not allowed to discuss injuries either. All right, so I want to get that. I want to acknowledge that off the bat. Okay, like the fact that we lost Saliba that early. I know Mosquera came in and looked brilliant, but he's not quite Saliba. I think our backline and our midfield perhaps is entrenched a few yards higher if Saliba's on the pitch.
Yeah.
The fact that you don't have Odegaard, the fact that you don't have Saka, the fact that you don't have Havertz, all four of those players, in my opinion,
and
even
Ben
though
White.
we have Gyökeres and Ben White,
because I thought Timber was poor on the day.
Yeah. I'm not entirely sure if he starts Ben White at Anfield, but maybe he could have. Maybe he could have if he was fit. Right? But in my opinion, at least four of those five probably start. Now, if you take Van Dijk, McAllister, Salah, and Ekitike out of that team, I don't think they look anywhere near as good. So it's testament to the squad. But I'm apparently not allowed to discuss that because we've had a window and we spent money, so we're not allowed to discuss injuries, right? So we're not allowed to deal with that. That's one thing. But the other is the frustration that I have. You know how Arteta very often describes Anfield? He says I think he uses the place is like a tumble dryer, or the place is like a washing machine or whatever, right? That is something, bro. I could hear it through the TV when it happened. It was at the beginning of the match, and then it was quiet because we quietened them down. They didn't do anything in particular to raise it. I honestly think that it was the first 10 or 15 where we didn't quite go for the jugular, and it was a bit more of the same, where the fans thought, if we get behind them now, there's something in it for us, because Arsenal aren't turning the screw. I think we let them do that.
That's exactly what the crowd sensed. I think my dad sent me a similar message. He said, we let the crowd in it. This wasn't like, Granit Xhaka kind of getting into something and then they got up for it and whatever. This was them just going, hold on, but let's go for it.
Yeah.
And I've been at the Emirates when I felt there's not a lot in it, and we've just gone, wait, this is all a bit comfortable. And then Endeavour can do it.
Where do you? I hate using the word blame.
Yeah.
But to what extent do you attribute the way that second half went? I'm not actually going to question the first half, even though I did take issue with the lineup.
No,
because
I agree.
all in all, I think first half at Anfield, I think fair enough. That's a decent first half. In the second half, do you think it was the players letting Liverpool back into the game and not being adventurous enough and not taking enough risk? Or do you think it was ultimately more top down? Do you think it was the manager saying, keep it tight. If you can get one, great. If not, it's not the end of the world. Just make sure that you don't concede. Because if it is the latter, I know it was a worldie, but the amount of quality on that pitch, they can score worldies. We've seen this before.
Yeah. Well, and also, if Ekitike holds his run a bit better, they had a goal earlier, didn't they? So, blame. Let me give Arteta the benefit of the doubt for a second. Can't be nice rocking up to Anfield without White, Saliba, Odegaard, Saka, Havertz. Whatever you think of all those players, certain players, whatever, they are all crucial to Mikel. And some might say, he brought on Eze and Odegaard in the 68th minute at 0-0 to add some attacking impetus from what was a good platform. If they come on and we get them on the ball, start creating chances, it goes down as a master stroke of a game plan. So the margins are small. If Szoboszlai doesn't smash in one of the most incredible free kicks I've ever seen, you're going, you know what, that's a really sensible point with the players missing. So the fine margins can define how you look on it. But you know what? That's kind of the point of football. Like, it is low scoring. It is, well, okay, but this is what happened, and when it comes down to it, and I can defend a lot of the individual moments, and I can explain a lot of the reasons why in this game we weren't a bit more adventurous, or this game we weren't a bit more front-footed, or why we were a little bit more cautious here and there. But ultimately, there is a little bit of a pattern of Arteta not really just going, I trust the attacking talent, go win me the game. So is it the players on the pitch after building momentum tiring? Did Liverpool tweak things? Because Gravenberch did an interview where he talked about how they tweaked the press, and maybe that impacted the way we played. And Arteta maybe didn't have the answer. Maybe he wanted to, but he was watching it going, I've been tactically outdone here. I don't have an answer. There could be so many different things that are going on in that moment. Liverpool could simply raise their level. I don't know. But there is just something about Arsenal that to me was, whenever a team steps onto you more, they're inevitably leaving more space. Now, you can close it up and go, no, like, we'll protect what we've got. Or you can go, all right, well, there's space to exploit. Let's make it a bit more basketball. And I think over many, many years, I'd have said, you know what, Arsenal, you're right to just be sensible and close the space and whatever. But I just think they were vulnerable. 2 goals thrown away against Newcastle, 2 goals thrown away against Bournemouth. I know they went on to win those games, but isn't that just kind of proof that they get goals anyway? Like, we did Alisson make a save? Oh, from Madueke for set piece.
Yeah.
Was that it? Like, I mean, really, like, was that actually it? Is that all? Is that the only save we asked him to make?
It's the only one I can remember. It is the only one I can remember.
That's like appalling, isn't it? I don't know, Shiro. I'm so conflicted about this game. Like, part of me wants to defend the good work we did. I mean, how many teams are going to go to Anfield and shut them down like that? How many teams are that organised off the ball? How many teams keep the ball like that, by the way, at Anfield? The way we moved it in the first half was great. And to do it with so many key players missing. But I just think, Arsenal want to be at the top of the tree looking down on everyone. And at some point, you need to look down on the opponent in front of you. I don't think we really do that enough. I don't think we ever looked to them at Liverpool and went, we're going to show you we're better than you. And I know that Liverpool and City on route to winning titles, even when it's been some of their first, they've done that to us and they've done that to their rivals. I think at the Emirates we've done that, but we've never done that away. And I've excused it many times before, but this time just felt like a really missed opportunity for me.
I hear you. And those City Liverpool classics, when they were going at it,
right?
I used to watch those, and I used to always say, neither of these teams are actually afraid to lose. They're not. They're just not. Everything they were doing, they're not afraid to lose. They're going to do absolutely everything they can to win, right? But one thing I want to try and do is, to be fair, I want to try and put myself in Arteta's mind for a minute, because I know that I messaged you and said we need to start trusting our attack as much as we trust our defense, right? He could come out and say, yeah, but trust is something that's earned. And I trust this defense after years of them proving that they are the best defense in the league. This attack that I had is a striker that I don't quite know, a right winger that I don't quite know, and a left winger that hasn't quite been at it. And the guy behind them isn't the captain that I would usually have in that position. So how are you going to suggest that I ought to trust it as much as I trust my defense when I'm going to play the Premier League champions in their own backyard? And if he looked at me and said that, I'd go, well, fair enough, mate. Well, fair enough. I do understand that. But
and Troy, it's also not a team he trusts, because one thing I clocked was that, I'm so sorry, I was very rude of me interrupting your point, but just another layer to your point, to more evidence for you. I think if I go Timber, Mosquera, Calafiori, Marino, Zubamendi, Madueke, and Gyökeres, that's 7 starters, were all not part of the team that got to 89 points against Man City. So he can't even say this is a team he trusts, because it's fundamentally not. The 7 of the 11 haven't gone the distance. Sorry, carry on. So sorry for interrupting. That was rude of me.
No, not at all. Not at all. So then, if he said that to me, I would maybe try and push back a little bit. And I would say, okay, I get that, right? But you very often speak about we need to be brave. We need those players on the pitch that have that moment of quality, those difference makers where the margins are so small, blah, blah. I don't need to keep repeating it. So why the two players that everyone looked at in that starting 11, were Martinelli and Marino. They were the two. When it came out, I would have said, why did you go for both? I know that a lot of people will say, well, Martinelli, because you need to do a job on Salah defensively. Well, Marino, because he's just a little bit stronger in that midfield area. But those are if you had just changed one of them, if you had either taken a punt on Eze on the left-hand side, or if you'd taken a punt on Eze in the 10, or even Ethan in the 10, you've just taken a little risk. It's not a gung-ho risk. It's not, I'm going to play an absolute blitzing left winger and I'm going to go hell for leather and put a teenager down. Just take one. And might we have carried a bit more threat, and might we have made that first half count a bit more? Because you said it yourself. You said, well, when we needed one, we brought on Eze and Odegaard. What would have happened if we had just one of those people on the pitch throughout that 90? My personal opinion, we'll never know, but my personal opinion is we might have made that period where we were on top count for at least one goal.
I totally agree. But then there's another element to all this, which is the players on the pitch, they need to be coached and quickly, because I saw Gabriel Martinelli driving with the ball in transition. Now, to be fair, how often over the years as an Arsenal player has he had that opportunity? I'd argue very rarely over the last 2-3 years, because of the way we've played, because of the way opposition have played against us. But I'm sorry. I think at under 15s level, they know run across goal, make the defenders not just run backwards, run sideways, because then Gyökeres can peel off, because then maybe there's a cutback, maybe someone makes another. I don't know, but you don't run straight. That's exactly what every defender wants to deal with. He ends up then running into Gyökeres' space, and it goes out for a goal kick, I think.
That was the bit that annoyed me more. That more than the running straight. What he did by running straight is exactly what you say. But Gyökeres is a striker, and he picked up on it. So he peels off to the left, holds his run, and then looks as if to say, I'm darting into the middle now. You either play the ball or you use the space. He did neither. He went and ran to Gyökeres' side. And that is where, in that bar that I was in, I wasn't speaking to these Arsenal fans. They were sat on the other end. But all I could hear was these guys screaming out, he's finished, man. He's finished. Yeah. I know this is absolutely, some people might say it's hyperbolic, whatever, but that was honestly, I think, a moment where a lot of Arsenal fans just said, I can't watch that anymore. Yeah, I can't watch that anymore.
I agree. I think he is finished. Now, I think he'll play another season. And what do we mean by finished? I think it's like everything is with the caveat of we want to be title winners. So I think Jordan made this point really well on Forever Arsenal. He was basically saying, like, if we were going for Champions League football, if we were sort of our first season thinking we might challenge for the title, we'd probably take a lot of encouragement out of that performance. But that's not where we are. And with Martinelli, it's kind of the same. I saw what you did in the 22-23 season, where I had you as our player of the season. I saw what you did in some big moments, like the Bernabeu last year, like winning us the game against Man City at the Emirates when you came on at halftime after injury and blitzed them. Like, I know what he can do on and off the ball. And by the way, off the ball, once again, worked extremely hard, tracks the runners, wins the ball back, covers for his fullback. There's a lot of great stuff he does off the ball and for the system. But I think he finished in terms of he will never be, and I've got to this point, Arsenal's starting left winger in a title-winning side. He will be a functional squad player who will chip in with some goals, who will work hard. I kind of want to see him up front. I actually think he'll probably be better there as a squad player. But I think he's done. And you know, like players like Trossard, they can be infuriating through a 90. But you know, they've got incredibly clutch moments. Gyökeres fed off scraps, to be fair, and I actually think did okay. But you're waiting for him to get that service. Martinelli is meant to be the entertainer. He's meant to be. I know. And you know what I liked about Madueke against Kirkes? Because I think Arsenal fans have every right to come out of that game going, Madueke did well. And Liverpool fans have every right to go, Kirkes did well. It was just a good battle. It's just a good old school battle in which, you know, Kirkes probably edged it because Madueke ultimately didn't get any final product. But my word was he worked hard. And it was just a good battle, and you could see that at least Madueke had him twisting and turning on the outside, on the inside, running backwards constantly. He was beating him for pace. And I looked at Martinelli and thought, Szoboszlai must think right back's the easiest position in the league, because you just did nothing to cause him problems. You didn't once peel central when Gyökeres peeled wide. When you did have that space in transition, you just ran forwards. You know, everything he did on the right was, you know, a Turkish described it as like tippy-tappy, and he's right. It's just kind of just like not just so uninspiring. And he's not the only one who deserves criticism. But unfortunately, he's the one who's kind of consistently been at that level. I thought Timber was really poor on the day, like really poor. I know not many people kind of felt that, but his performance really wound me up. Actually, I thought, who else? Marino tried, but that was kind of it.
What did you make of Zubimendi?
I thought he had a really good first half. I thought he was a big part as to why we were. I know he got picked by Van Dijk, but I thought that was a silly pass from Raya. I thought otherwise he kind of kept everything ticking really well. I thought Rice was great throughout the 90. He got better as it went on and off the ball. But Zubimendi's second half got swallowed up by it a little bit. But I like him. I think he did some things in that game that might go a little unnoticed that were really intelligent, like the little fouls he was committing to break up the play, to settle Liverpool down, how physical he was, how much he snapped at their heels. And he did keep things moving. He wasn't a creative outlet whatsoever, but who was? So yeah, I wasn't particularly moved by Zubimendi, but I thought he did okay. What did you think of him?
I think one thing I am looking at him for now, there's this notion that only your 10 is the person that is there to break the lines and feed your strikers. I do know that Zubi has that in his locker. And I don't want that responsibility to solely rest on that front four. I think the fact that he does have it in his locker and the fact that there were moments where I think he could have maybe found Madueke a bit quicker. That was one thing that I really was looking for from him that I didn't see. But I agree with everything that you said about the stuff that he did well. Once I realized that, one of the reasons I think we're all sort of heaping praise on Madueke is because of how bad the other flank was. It makes Madueke look
even okay, right?
He did. He absolutely did. Yeah. But he looked like an 8 when he was actually a 6 because of what was going on the other side.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's what Roy said.
That's the thing. But I do think that there were moments where he was in a load of space, where Zubi didn't quite find him. There was also this moment that I've noticed a lot of people online aren't really speaking about, and this isn't to criticize Gyökeres, by the way, but it is a moment where, for people that are saying he got no service or didn't have any chances, there is, and for people who want to criticize Ødegaard, by the way, Ødegaard does come on, get into a brilliant area, plays a delicate little reverse, and Gyökeres is on his heels, and Konate is looking around like, I can't believe I just got to that first, because he shouldn't have.
Yeah,
he shouldn't have. The way in which we describe Gyökeres, if he was that absolute poacher, fox in the box, who was switched on throughout the 90, he would have got there first because it was just in front of him, and he was right in front of goal, and that would have been 1-1. I was hands on head at that point because I knew that was probably the chance.
Yeah,
and we didn't get a shot off. That really does stick out.
And there's positives to take from this game. We mentioned that first half and why there were positives in the high press and the aggression. But I'm glad you mentioned that moment because I kind of forgot it. It comes from Eze sort of dropping a shoulder and driving on the inside, something we don't see too much, and picking out Ødegaard in a pocket where he can very quickly use his quick feet to feed a striker. These are the combinations I want to see a lot more of. I think we will with Nkapie coming in. Hopefully that gives us some width down that side. But also I think Calafiori was brilliant on the day. Maybe not so much on the ball, but off the ball, I thought he was really, really good against Mo Salah. And, Rice and Zubimendi playing as dual sixes is clearly something Arteta's going to try to do, which I've asked for. And again, I think that was a big part of why we had control in the midfield, because if we did lose it, they couldn't transition on us because Rice was there. And so there's a platform there I like. And also, the risk of saying something incredibly stupid and trying to sound smart. I'm not trying to sound smart, but the difference between a loss and a draw is 1 point. Mm-hmm. It's not the end of the world. I just think it's the manner once again, and it's the fact that we could have. So many times people keep saying to Arsenal, "You could have made a statement. You could have made a statement. You could have made a statement," and I've gone, stop disrespecting the opposition for your clicks and your retweets and your rage baiting on social media. But on this one, I get it. And I hope the team go away and think, why were we like that? Because I think in the past they would have said to themselves, well, you can win these games, but maybe not really believed it. I almost think in defeat, they might go, hold on, that's actually really annoyed me. Almost if they got a draw, it might have justified it a little bit. I'm really hoping they use it as fuel to go, wait, what? How do we lose that? We're the better team. And I don't actually think we were necessarily, but they can almost feel like they had more to give. This might wind up Liverpool fans. I'm not sure they massively had much more to give outside of match-winning quality and sort of moments of quality from individuals, because I think Arsenal did a really good job stifling them. Now, some people have said that Liverpool did a really good job stifling us, but this is going to sound so harsh, but Gyökeres doesn't do things on his own. Marino's not a 10. Madueke's not a starting right winger, and Martinelli's in awful form. Like, I'm almost not that impressed. I know that sounds a bit, I'm not trying to discredit them because they're a brilliant club and they've got brilliant players, but I'm not sure I give them that much credit for kind of shutting us out, if that makes sense.
Honestly, don't worry about upsetting Liverpool fans either, because like for the last 3 or 4 years, when I speak about Liverpool, I've been like incredibly objective, humble, deferential, and I absolutely respect what they've done. Yeah, but bro, over the last couple of days, after beating us and now with this Isak stuff, some of the messages I'm getting from some of these Liverpool fans and some of the stuff I'm seeing online, for the first time in a long time, I've got a bit of needle for them now.
Ooh.
Like, I'm starting to.
Why are they messaging you? That's so weird.
Oh, because they know they beat us and they know I love Isak, bro. Like, they're just getting that, they're getting that little bit more disrespectful towards us too, right? Like, I feel like for a while they weren't really challenging, and then they were challenging City. They didn't really see us as a threat, so they kind of little broed us for a bit. But now, I think because we're up there and they think it's going to be us versus them, they're being a bit more sharp-tongued, let's say, with the way in which they speak about Arsenal. And that's all me saying, don't worry about upsetting them, because they're not worried about upsetting us. If you think they didn't have too much to offer and you're not that impressed, bro, say it. Don't mince your words.
I don't think Liverpool could have clicked their fingers and gone up levels in that game in the way I think Arsenal could have. I think if Arsenal had a different intent, we could have done more. I think it was a mentality problem. Now, by the way, that counts in the title race, okay? Like, that's not just, oh, well, if we change our mentality, then great. No, that's a problem. And credit to Liverpool for having the mentality to try and win it after playing badly. Like, that in itself is kind of like title-winning praise and credit there. I just think Arsenal could have thrown more at them. And it comes from intent and will to do it. Now they've got Isak, that's different. And we'll talk about that actually now. But now they've got Isak, that is a different problem. Gehi and that deal falling through, it's a little bit of a, oh, okay, that's good, because they needed more at the back. But yeah, Liverpool, whatever we think, Liverpool haven't started the season at their best, and they've scored a last-minute winner against Bournemouth, scored 4 goals in that, scored a last minute winner at St James's Park, Newcastle away. They've won that. That's 7 goals. They added an 8th in the 82nd minute, beating, maybe if you're judging City, maybe beating their biggest rivals for the title. And now they've signed Isak. Like, they're flying. They couldn't have asked for a better August. So
for sure.
So that sometimes it's just momentum, isn't it? As much as your quality and everything, but that's a big part.
I hate you. And as much as I've just said, don't worry about upsetting them, I mean, I have to give credit where credit's due. The way in which we analyse Liverpool, it comes from a place of credibility, because they've been there and done it, right? So with them, all of the well, they didn't look great against Bournemouth. Yeah, they were up against 10-man Newcastle and struggled. Yeah, they didn't look great against Arsenal, but they've got 9 out of 9. Everyone is just saying, imagine what happens when they click. This is the sign of champions. Whenever we've done that, because it doesn't come from a place of credibility, the analysis is always, that is unsustainable. Why are you full tilt? Why are you full tilt at this stage of the season? Why are you going hell for leather against a mid-table team? Why are you going hell for leather against 10 men? Why do you need a child to score a last-minute winner this early in the season? The way in which it gets analysed is completely different, because we haven't got over the line, and they have they have a proven track record. Having said that, with the Isak signing, I don't. You might disagree. I don't think there's any question that now they have the best goalkeeper in the Premier League. They still have the best centre-back in the Premier League. They now have, in my opinion, the best right winger in the Premier League and the second best 9 in the Premier League after Erling Haaland. I think
they've got the best 9 in the league.
You think he's a better 9?
Haaland's the best goal scorer. I think Isak's the better player.
Yeah,
I think they've got the best midfield now in Gravenberch, McAllister, and Wirtz. All my hopes are pinned fully on the
Squad
imbalance
depth.
in their squad.
Yeah.
Sorry, they are totally imbalanced. But
Yeah.
if they blow everyone off the pitch, like if they're winning games 5, there's a great stat that I referenced in my match report from Jamie Carragher, and I'm butchering the stat, but essentially, I think he was saying that Arne Slot referenced that Liverpool, didn't have many games won by like the 60th minute last season. A lot of them were won by 1-goal margins or actually went to quite late. So even though they scored a load of goals, and actually I'm trying to think, like that's actually quite a fair point. I can't remember too many times looking at the score and seeing Liverpool 3-0 up by the 55th, 60th minute, which is why maybe throughout a lot of the season before that West Ham home defeat, we felt that they were kind of always in games weirdly, and that we might get something. But so maybe he sees the answer as adding more goals to make more of their dominance. Their dominance yields 3 goals, not 1 or 2. So if that does that, then brilliant. They're even better.
And it really is a tale of two managers, isn't it? Because our manager looks like the way he's assembled his squad. He's gone, well, the way in which we're going to extinguish games and win is we're going to be borderline impossible to break down. And their manager, actually, what he's gone and done, I mean, fair enough, it's cost a fair bit, but it does make for a more entertaining brand of football.
So what of the title race, Roy? Like, I mean, they've signed Isak. I mean, a lot of people are saying wrap it up, give them the league. I don't feel that way. I think they are. Let me make it very clear. They're expected to win the title. You don't win the title, add Wirtz, add Isak, add all the other players you've added, and then suddenly you're not expected to do it. However, I think there's other good teams. I think there's an imbalance in their team. I think they're the favourites. I think they're better than us. But I'm not like. I think there's only 1 or 2 teams ever that I've watched and gone, oh, what can you possibly do? And that was Pep's Barcelona. And maybe Pep and Klopp's City and Liverpool that got to the high 90s. Mm-hmm. I remember thinking, if they click, like, what can you do against these teams? Like, what can you actually do? And yeah, I think maybe only those 2-3 teams. Obviously, you got the Bayern side that won the Champions League in 2013. Mourinho built great Chelsea sides, but I still felt like they were beatable in some way. Like, there's only really 2-3 teams that I've seen Arsenal face, and I've thought, I don't know what we could possibly do. I don't feel this way about any team in the league this season. I include Man City. I include us for sure. We're definitely not that kind of team.
We didn't do predictions in our first episode. Where did you have us before this Isak signing? Did you think we were the favourites?
Before Eze had us 3rd. Then we signed Eze and they didn't have Isak, and I actually had us winning it. And then they added Isak, so now I think we're 2nd. So I think Liverpool, Arsenal, City.
Okay, so you're of the opinion that what they've done to their front line is enough to mask what they haven't done with their back line. So much so that they're okay. Yeah.
I think Arsenal identified the problems in their squad more in the transfer window with Eze, with Madueke, with Gyökeres, with Zubimendi. I think that did more to address our problems, even in Nketiah, if he is this overlapping left back type. I think Liverpool just added more brilliance to the brilliance they've got, and not just more, like the best 10 and best 9 in the world. Maybe some might argue. It's pretty impressive.
I hear you. And for what it's worth, I personally thought they were the favourites before the Isak signing, and I think they're certainly the favourites after the Isak signing. And given some of the messages that I've been getting off them today, they better go and win it all, bro. They better go and win it all. The stuff that I'm having to listen to.
Well, you stay on them.
But you don't win, no matter how good your team is, right? You do need an element of luck. And if that side that they have now, if that squad that they have now picks up anywhere near the level of injury that our squad picked up last year, I do think they'll struggle. Think they'll struggle, even with Salah going to AFCON, for example. I do think they'll struggle. Having said that, that's also contingent upon us having a slightly kinder injury season when compared to last year. But judging by the way this first few weeks has gone,
nope.
It doesn't look that way, does it? It doesn't look that way.
To any Liverpool fans who've watched this, I think it's really important that, like, this is an Arsenal podcast. We are looking for things that suggest weakness and something for us to go for there. If this were a Liverpool podcast, we were Liverpool fans, we would be talking about how we haven't been at our best, but it's 9 out of 9. We've added world-class players. We've found a way, despite it not all clicking. We've beaten a really stubborn Arsenal side because our individual quality came through. Like, if this were a Liverpool podcast, we'd be, singing the praises of all those things. We can acknowledge.
To be fair, we said all of that stuff too.
Well, we
said all of that stuff too.
Yeah, but what we need to establish, because roll over and die then. Game week 3 done. No, they're better than us. They're better than Isak. There's no point. Done. No, like, it's not. We're here to try and figure out and understand what went wrong, how we fix it to be better, and what gaps there are in Liverpool that allow us that way back in. Because now, whatever happens, we need to make up 3 points on them. We now know that the task has been set. That's the first gap. That's the first pull away in this title race. So let's see the answer, and that is going to come with some sort of favour from somebody, because we'll win. We'll win if we beat them at the Emirates. That's 3 points made up. Then we still need something from someone else. So we need to see weakness in them. I think they're a very strong side, but I don't think they're perfect. I think Liverpool fans would actually admit they're not perfect. I think that's why they wanted Gehi so badly. But we will see. Ultimately, all this comes down to the transfer window. I think we'll spend the last 10, 15 minutes just chatting about that. As we're recording, Zinchenko's been announced as joining Forest on loan, which is a strange one. Kivior's completed a move to Porto, which is a loan with an obligation to buy. Nkapie is in on a loan with an option to buy, but that option is likely going to go ahead. The reason for that particular deal is because it allows us to register on UEFA's finances as next year's signing, not this year's signing. If it was an obligation, they'd go down as this year's signing, and the finance would look different. So that's the Nkapie stuff explained. He's taken the number 5 shirt. Vieira has gone to Hamburg. Lokonga, I believe, has gone to Hamburg. Reece Nelson's gone to Brentford on loan. So quite a busy day for Arsenal. 8 signings in. To recap: Kepa, Mosquera, Nkapie, Norgard, Zubimendi, Eze, Madueke, Gyökeres. And I deserve podcaster of the year for remembering all those things in one go.
You didn't stutter.
Thank you so much. I'm a professional, Shroy. I'm a professional.
It was mad. Professional, holding his microphone, just went bar for bar. That was like a Charlie Sloth fire in the booth.
Oh, it's just
incredible.
Coming. Do you know, I need to dangle the mic up here.
That's it.
Yeah.
Mad.
Yeah. And then our signings. We had well, I'm going to ruin it. Your review of the window, Sharoy.
Bro, it's a great window. It is a great window. The notion that I'm sat here now after a 1-0, a marginal 1-0, the window we've just had, and the outgoings again. Look, I know they haven't been permanent sales. I know we may not have commanded the fee, but the vast majority of these clubs are bearing the vast majority of the wages, and there aren't many players left in this squad where I sit there and go, don't even really want them around. Like, I'm really happy with the way the squad looks. I'm really happy with the average age of the squad. I'm really happy with, if it comes to it, the set-on value of the vast majority of the players that are left in this squad now. I'm really happy with the ceiling of the vast majority of these players. I'm super happy with the mix between youth and experience. I'm happy that we've got a combination of Premier League proven and a combination of exciting prospects from foreign leagues. I'm happy with it all. There's just that bit in the back of my mind where it's like, why is it the year that we have this window that I feel like I need to look right and look at a club that I think had a better window? That is the annoying thing. But I'm a fan. But
do you think they spurred each other on?
No, I don't. I don't. I think Arne Slot would have identified a number of positions, and I think he got all but one. Honestly,
I wouldn't be surprised if City signing Shirky, Liverpool signing Wirtz made Arsenal more desperate to sign Eze. That wouldn't surprise me if we went, oh my, they're doing all right. That wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me if they saw us get Gyökeres, Zubimendi, Madueke, Eze, and went, we're willing to pay 10 million more for Isak. Like, I mean, it just wouldn't surprise. I'm not saying they wouldn't have tried to sign him anyway, but who's to say that if we did a bit less, if City did a bit less, Liverpool go, you know what, we'll get him next year for 110.
You know, I
don't know, maybe.
Yeah, I know. Tell me if I'm being harsh here, or tell me if I'm being unrealistic. Yeah, I want your opinion on this. For us, it was one striker's going to come in. we're not going to get to. And when Gyökeres came in, everyone knew it was done, right? They spent in excess of 80 on Ekitike, and they still, until the last day, went for Isak. You know how I think you guys covered it on Forever as well. There is this notion that, well, it's better to identify your target and get him in, and then you've got your striker in, and you can build around him. Liverpool didn't have that mindset in this window. They didn't have that. Don't worry, we'll just focus on one, get him in, and then we'll build. They're like, we'll get one, and if we don't get the other one, we've got one that we're super happy with as a starting striker anyway. And if we get the other one, the league's in trouble. That's one thing that really does kind of irk me about the way in which they did business. It upsets me that we didn't move that way in that particular position. And I say that because it is a player that I really love, and it is a player that there is a part of me that thinks if we really believed that we could get him, we might have at least been a part of the conversation. But I don't think we ever really believed that we could, and that kind of upsets me.
I know what you mean. Liverpool was something of they were bullies, weren't they? In like a good way. I mean it as a compliment. They wanted something. They actually did they? They made a bid. You know, Isak acted up because he wanted the move.
Yeah.
Liverpool went, we just made a bid and we're going to sit and watch.
But they made a British record bid.
Yeah.
That's the point, isn't it?
So I've really been agonising over this. I did a video on Goonerverse News, like Isak to Liverpool in the title race, it was titled. And I basically said, look, should Arsenal have, should we have gone in for Isak? And I've basically got like a really weird answer that I think people think is really stupid, but I'll say it anyway. I think we should have in June or July, purely for optics and PR. I know it sounds really weird. I know it sounds really weird, but I actually think that's exactly what we should have done. Because if we're signing Isak at 130, 125, 130, we're not getting the other players. And we actually needed a squad as much as we needed to improve the first 11. And a lot of people go, why? Look at what Liverpool just spent, 400 million. Okay, but they hadn't been as busy. Like last window, they spent nothing. And okay, yeah, maybe my standards of Arsenal should be higher. Like maybe I should have expected them to go up to 400. But I think Liverpool have done something legitimately unprecedented here. Like absolutely. Also, and I can't stress this enough, they sell so well.
Yeah.
We don't. And that buys you so much on the spreadsheet because everything you earn from sales goes on this year's books. Everything you spend is spread across the length of the contract that you've committed to on the signing. So the books look so healthy for Liverpool because of the 35 million for Quansah. We're getting, Zinchenko's gone on loan. Vieira and Lokonga have gone on loans and some like nothing permanent deal. Reece Nelson's on another loan, people. Yeah. What's it going to take to get 10 million for this guy? He's better than half the people getting moved. Tyreek George has just left Chelsea to Fulham for £22 million. Like, it's extraordinary. And that's the difference. So knowing that we can't sell like that, knowing we've had fairly big summers for 4 years in a row, I appreciate last year wasn't that big. I understand that Isak would have meant compromise in other areas. I can acknowledge that. And I've agonised over whether Arsenal should have made 5 signings, with one of them being Isak, as opposed to 8 signings. And I ultimately think the answer is we're probably better off doing the 8, but optics should have been not Gyökeres or Sesko. The optics should have been Arsenal want Isak. They're willing to battle Liverpool. They've also made the same bid that's been rejected. They're trying to get the player. And then it comes out after a few weeks. The player favours Liverpool. Arsenal moving on to Gyökeres. And we'd all have gone, fair enough. And you know what? The result would have been the same. Isak ends up at Liverpool. We end up with the same group. But it would have felt different. I really think it would have felt different.
Yeah, but on the PR and optics, I don't know.
I know that's stupid. I know it's stupid.
Not necessarily stupid, but I'm thinking of how the PR and optics really plays out. Like, have you ever been out with 2 of your boys and they're both moving for the same goal, but she chooses one and the other one goes, didn't even really want her anyway, bro. Like that, you know, like the PR and optics.
Liars.
Exactly, but it can go the other way. Maybe Arsenal. Look, all right. This is another way of looking at it. When Isak battered us over those 2 legs and knocked us out of the cup, yeah. Arteta was constantly speaking about him as, look, they had a guy that was the absolute difference in the box, and that's just something we don't have at our disposal. Every so often, Arteta speaks about a player where I sit there and go, he really likes this, bro. He really likes this, bro. I think he kind of wants him. It wouldn't surprise me if that was also one of the reasons why the Sesko deal might have been on the table in January, but we didn't go for it because he was like, I don't know, is there a chance that we can get Isak? Is there? Should we just hold out? Is this going to preclude us from doing it? But when the summer came, they might have gone, hey, do you fancy a move to Arsenal? He might have just behind closed doors gone, listen, I rate you lot, but I don't rate you lot like Liverpool. I want to go there. And at that point, is it better PR for them not to come out and say, actually, players are choosing Liverpool over us, and us basically saying, you know what, we weren't in the race anyway, to go back to the two guys at the club analogy, us just going, you know what, we weren't in the race. It's not that he chose them over us, it's that we never really tried. I don't know if that's better PR or better optics.
I'd prefer to know that we had a go. And then we can lick our wounds and go, you know what, though? We went for the best, we couldn't get him, and we went for the next best in Gyökeres, if he is the next best. I think only time. Your
question about the transfer window, I think honestly only time will tell. Because there is a world in which you are bang on, and you're like, yeah, we needed those 8, didn't we? Look at the 15 games that Hincapié had to play. Look at the 12 that Madueke had to play, and look at the 5 goals and 3 assists that he brought in. It could be something like that where we go, see, that's exactly what we needed. And Arteta's probably saying, look, we say that we came unstuck last year because of depth. So we addressed depth. In fact, we maybe over-addressed depth, but it's better to be over-prepared than under-prepared, which is all you guys on YouTube were telling me last year. So that's what I've gone out and done. Yeah, there is a world in which he's right. But there is also a world in which Isak bangs 30 and they don't miss Salah when he goes to AFCON because they've now gone and got the guy that you call the best 9 in the league.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the transfer window and the way you judge it is also a little bit like an actual game of football in that you are kind of putting it up against what others have done. And I look at ours and I think it's an 8 or 9. It's probably an 8.5, nearly a 9. And it is because those sales are quite disappointing. And I think those sales being disappointing again. And by the way, I think that's Berta's toughest part of the job, I think, is changing the way Arsenal do business on the outgoings front. And I think that's really difficult because you can gain, when you're a buying club, you can gain power in negotiation by simply having lots of options. And then the player that you're trying to buy, desperate to come, causes a fuss like Gyökeres did, and it only gives you more power. That's a part of how Liverpool and Isak got to the valuation they got to. When you're a selling club, what have you got? You got the player wants to leave because he's not wanted. You got the buying club wants to pay as little as possible, and you've got a history of deals that don't stack up as anything particularly impressive. It's so hard to change. So unless Arsenal were prepared to let Lokonga, Vieira, whatever, just rock up to training at London Colney, take a place, in the changing rooms and earn their wage, unless Arsenal are prepared to do that to set a standard, we are not prepared to let anyone go for less than their value. Unless Arsenal were willing to do that, they weren't going to do that with the 8 signings they brought in. They were ultimately going to say, all right, fine, we'll just take the best deal we can get. And then that's disappointing. I think Zinchenko's a 15 to 20 million pound player. I think Reece Nelson's a 15 million pound player. I think Kivior's a 25 to 30 million pound player. So I think we could have brought anything from 60 to 80 million pounds in this window. And we ultimately haven't really touched that. But again, the more sellable assets, where was our £50 million bid for Martinelli, who's struggling like Darwin Núñez? Maybe it was there. We never heard about it. It's the kind of thing Arsenal want to keep hush-hush. Because if we found out that money was there and we turned it down, we'd be furious. But that's the kind of deal we need to do to be able to then fund maybe that little bit extra on the really special talent. And with Liverpool, again, I've talked about Quansah leaving and Harvey Elliott going for an obligation of 35 million. I think it's a really good business. Ultimately, Trent left. They need to replace him. This has been like an Arsenal-Liverpool podcast, but hey, Diaz has gone to Bayern Munich. He was starting for them last year. May he rest in peace. Diogo Jota, massive player for them. Darwin Núñez has just left. That's a £60 million asset who's gone too. They needed to replace creativity and cutting edge in the final third. And they've done that in Wirtz, Isak and Ekitike. So you can almost say they did what they absolutely had to do. And they acted like champions by going for the best in the business. So really, it shouldn't. In some ways, it's not that surprising. It's just surprising. It's not how Liverpool normally do things. But when you put it in that frame and context, it actually makes complete sense.
For sure. And every single one that they brought in that you listed, it's not just an adequate replacement, it's an upgrade, right? With our sales, I might be wrong. This might come back and make me look a bit silly, but I do think that we were historically bad at selling, because to be selling, you do kind of need to be selling a product that someone wants. And there were a lot of players that we had left over from that sort of old guard that ultimately were either on a ridiculous wage that no one wanted to pay, or they simply weren't good enough. I do think we're now, without being overly disrespectful to these players, this is not necessarily an indictment on them, but players of that caliber at Arsenal Football Club on that wage, that I think we're at that last bit now where there's a crop that we're finding it quite difficult to shift. But once they're gone, we're looking at what's left. And I actually think that we're going to be trying to hold on to a lot of those players. I think the reverse is going to be true. I think as opposed to us struggling to sell now, I do worry that if we don't get things right this year, there are going to be a lot of people willing to pay a decent amount of money for our players, but we're not going to want to let them go.
Yeah, I actually think you're right. I actually think we are coming to that point. We're going to wrap up the pod now, but I want to end with an interesting question. We'll fly through it quite quickly. We've got the squad, a lot of signings. What's Arsenal's best 11 when everyone is at their very, very best, Sharoy? Your best Arsenal 11 when everyone is at their best, fit and firing right now.
Let's do this together. Goalkeeper and 2 centre-backs, no discussion, I assume.
Yeah, so Raya, Saliba, Gabriel. Now the fullbacks gets interesting.
Who are you going at right back? I feel like you might go Ben White.
I am. And people think, and sorry, by the way, I love Jurriën Timber. What a footballer. Sung his praises for the last year off the back of an ACL, playing like that. The Real Madrid games, unbelievable. I love him. And I've mentioned his bad performance at Anfield a few times. People probably think I've got in for him. I don't. I think Ben White at his best can be a monster defensively. I don't think Timber at his best is really much of an attacking presence. I think he's all right. I think he's very skillful. But I'll go Ben White because I think of what he can do going forward. And ultimately, we're Arsenal. Like I want to think more about the attacking side. What about you? Who are you going for?
I'm going Timber, but it's because of who I'm choosing as the left fullback. Are you going Calafiori?
This is tough. Lewis Skelly, end of last season, tremendous. I think I'll give it to Lewis Skelly, but I think he's got to adapt his game. I think he's got to evolve if he's going to make it with Eze as his left winger. But I will go Lewis Skelly. Who are you going for?
But it's mad, and we didn't discuss this before we jumped on air, by the way, for anyone that thinks we did. Those are my pairings. So I'm either choosing Timber and Calafiori because I think Timber is slightly more defensively solid and Saka's a bad man going forward, which is why I like the marauding Calafiori on the left-hand side.
Yeah.
Or I'm going Ben White because he's exactly what you say. He's an incredible attacking outlet, at which point I'm going Miles on the left because I think he is just slightly better defensively. If I had to choose, I'm probably going Timber and Calafiori. But again, bro, like the fact that we're even having this conversation and we've both chosen 2 different fullback pairings, that's good. That is good.
Totally agree.
We wouldn't have been able to do that.
Zubimendi, Rice and Ødegaard, I imagine, all at their very, very best. I still think 23-24 Ødegaard is one of the best midfielders we've had since the Fabregases of this world left this club. Eze on the left, Saka on the right, Gyökeres up front. Is that yours?
Yes. But there are certain games, people might laugh at me, because of how much I love Gyökeres, but there are certain games where, honestly, bro, I would choose Kai Havertz over Gyökeres.
Fair enough. No,
there are certain games.
I hear it.
Those games where I just think, you know what? He's probably not going to get anything. And I'd much rather bring him on when the game's a bit more stretched, legs are a bit more tired, and he can do exactly what he does, but just with a little less pressure. I think he'd influence the result a little bit more that way. And I know that's not what anyone wants to hear from the guy that you just signed as your number 14, but I'm not one of those guys that is obsessed with the shiny new toy and just completely forgets what the guy before could do. I do think that there is a role for Havertz in certain games, but best 11 more often than not, yes, Gyökeres starts up top.
Yeah, I agree. All right, we'll wrap it up there. 59 minutes. I think we were somewhat constructive there.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And I don't think either of us said that the title was lost on the weekend. And I don't think
we'd actually never remotely even entertain that. Like, oh, it's done. We're not going to win it. No, I don't think that. I don't think we feel that.
But we do acknowledge that it is going to be an uphill battle. And this is a season where everyone is looking at Arsenal like, you must. Well, with respect, when you've got Isak in your team now, Liverpool, there is an argument that you must too. So we'll see, because we both can't do it.
There's one must for Arsenal, and that's silverware. Because unless Liverpool clean up the quadruple, I think after this many years, this much money, I have got to that point. I'm demanding silverware. I don't think we must win the title because then, like you said, Liverpool must. But there's also a certain level of performance we need to see across all competitions. Sharoy, big thank you, man. Everyone go subscribe to Sharoy's Voice. The @ is in the description. Thank you for all your lovely comments last week. We do super appreciate them. I've replied to a few. We're always sending them to each other, so it really means the world to us. We'll try to do one next week. I'll try to record in Nashville, and we can sort of catch up on bits and bobs, maybe have a bit of fun, maybe actually give us some questions in the comments. We can discuss some of that, but I've no doubt there'll be some Arsenal news. The transfer window's over. The first 3 games of the Premier League season are done. 2 wins and a defeat, but we roll on to Forest at home. Maybe Zinchenko will play. I doubt it. Sharoy, big thank you as always. We'll catch you all in a bit.
Take care.